Welcome to the Reverberations podcast, where we explore the human experience and the journey of self-discovery. Well, welcome to another episode of Reverberations. It's an absolute joy and honor to have Sita Daavettila with us today, who's a spiritual coach who helps individuals develop their vertical access for inner and outer alignment. Her mission is to inspire the full awakening of the hearts of many, building more resonant relationships between humanity and nature. She has been up to so much. It's been such an honor to work with Sita over the past year, which came to this just incredible meeting of the minds through just some of the most synchronous encounters of what I call like the infinite kind, of just how forces of nature just come together to create these partnerships of service. And it's truly an honor just how it all came through. And it was about almost a year ago that we had connected, and you had just finished your fall gathering that you did with Brandy, who is how we met through Brandy Tuttle, who was on a previous podcast as well. So for anybody that hasn't listened to the podcast with Brandy Tuttle, I invite you to definitely listen to that after, so you have more of a clear resonance of what we are up to, what Sita is of service to, her whole storyline, her mission, her vision. It's truly a testament to the human experience of Sita's story and what she is bringing to service for humanity and for all of us, because it is about creating a more sustainable and harmonious experience for all in creation. And listening to everything that she has been up to and what her why is, it was like, yeah, I'm down with that. I want to be a part of that. So Sita, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's an honor. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, what you're up to, what you're of service to, what's moving and grooving, shaking and baking with you.
Yeah, John, it's so good to be with you. Thanks so much for inviting me to be on the podcast. And it's just an honor to get to download all the info, and put the work out into the world and in the world. So thanks for having me on. I'm creating community is what I'm doing. So I'm creating community around this whole Aquarian age. And I really believe and know that as a species, as a humanity, it's time to come together. And I think, what I'm trying to create is this community that's a higher, it's functioning in a higher dimension, and it is in our ability to have provocative conversation. It's in our ability to see each other and experience each other with, open hearts and with self-reflection. And it's in our capacity to sort of hold these spaces for each other to become the best versions of ourselves, right? To hold each other accountable for the best version of ourselves that we can be. So I run events. I also do personal, one-on-one spiritual coaching, which I absolutely love. It's such a fun thing to work with people directly and just get to know them and be a part of their story. But and so that's kind of my personal work. And then I'm really deep in this collective work of running events. And so this is so fun because I get to bring together amazing people and speakers and healers and teachers. And I'm, constantly out there networking and meeting this person, that person, and the universe is just bringing all these people into my lap. So I feel so honored to have the opportunity to meet all of these amazing souls and just be like, wow, what you're offering is so cool. And just opening and receiving all the gifts that people have to offer. And then in turn, inviting them to be a part of these events that I run. So I'm doing a weekend gathering in Jackson Hole on October 20th through the 22nd, which is really, it's definitely an Aquarian age gathering. It's sort of 3 days of music and speakers and teachers and community and just amplifying light and also receiving light. And so that's kind of my super hyper focus right now, is bringing together this event that's coming up in about a month. Yeah, that's what I'm up to.
I love it. And thank you for sharing that. There's a few things that you touched on that really speak volumes is community, of being of service to community. There's such a calling for it in knowing your story and reading about your story and listening to you, share about a lot of the things that you've touched upon and how you evolved into this journey of being of service. I mean, you've obviously always had the capacity of being of service, but then can you share a little bit about your transition from the corporate world and then your kind of awakening to come into this space of like, you know what, there's something more for me,
Yeah.
like because that community part and that provocative conversation that you spoke to,
Yeah.
like that's it. How do we bring that conversation to the table? And
Yeah.
how do we allow for that to unfold in that space of self-reflection and accountability and responsibility? So your story lends so beautifully to that. So could you share a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, totally. So I worked for a company in Denver, and I basically created this whole sustainability and ESG program for this. It was like a construction and mining company. And it was really self-fulfilling work. Felt like I was like changing all these. We worked in all these different communities that really had never heard of sustainability before, or like any sort of green initiatives. They were like, whatever, that doesn't matter, and I really love connecting with people. So I like brought in this stuff, and I wasn't pretentious. It wasn't like, we have to do this. It was really like just working with them and be like, hey, well, what are you guys already doing in the community? Like, what's happening? And then come to find out, like, actually, they had these really profound, just natural relationships in their community. And so I really loved that work. And I felt like I brought it to the forefront really of our company. And we were owned by some really big players in this sort of private equity and field and in the stock markets and all that kind of stuff. So I felt like I was sort of bridging the gap between these really small communities and these, smaller businesses operating into this like larger world of sustainability and telling our story really well. And then as time progressed, that whole, the whole sort of story about ESG and greening your business and stuff, it just became a numbers game. And I was like, uh, I mean, I don't know. Basically, I could just tell you right now that numbers games in the business world it's a game. It's a number game. I don't care what it is. Statistics, numbers, you can play that stuff from all kinds of different angles, and people do it all the time. And I was like, this is out of integrity with me and what I'm here to do. And it just became like a reporting thing and not a story anymore. And I was like, I don't know if this is right for me anymore. And so, I made it through 2020 and part of 2021. And then this is great. There was some changes at the top of the company. Okay. And I was really close with the CEO because he lives in Jackson too. And so the CEO had left and we had a new CEO come in, and I remember getting into the bath on Wednesday night, and I just laid there and was as still as I could be. And I had this really strong premonition that it was just time to go. It was time to write the email to my boss and it was time to go. And I had been ruminating on it for a while. I was kind of like, I know it's kind of coming, but I didn't know when the right timing was. So I sent him the email that night, and he's back to me in the morning like, wow, I can tell you really thought about this, and like, sounds great. We'll work out the details and blah, blah, blah. So then that Friday night, the CEO calls me and he's like, hey, I found out that you were going to get fired basically on Monday morning. And he was like, good job for for knowing in advance. So there was like a whole group of us who had started at the company at a certain time, and we were basically all being just like let go of. So they really wanted to like swoosh out the old and kind of bring in these new people. So I like for a minute, I realized I missed like a financial package of, being let go or whatever. So I was like, but then I had this like surge of joy, realizing that like I got to leave on my terms.
Mhm.
And it was super intuitive too. So I was so proud of myself for like understanding the timing really well. And then I got to email my whole team,
Mhm.
which was like 50 people in the company who I had worked really closely with. And I got to send them my goodbye, my email on my terms, my goodbye message on my terms. And everybody else who left the company, like email deleted, like you're gone. There was nothing.
Mhm.
And so I was like so excited that I had that opportunity to be like, did the money like didn't matter in the end. I was like, I'm just glad that I was able to leave on my terms and I got to say goodbye and I got to like own that. And so that whole corporate experience, like it really morphed me into understanding like business is so capable of having these like pretty intense discussions, but it's business, you know what I mean? And then we get into our personal worlds and suddenly it's not business anymore. And it's really hard to have these hard conversations. And I was like, and fundamentally, I don't believe that. You know what I mean? I feel like we can isolate our identification with anything that's happening in life and be able to have like challenging discussions or provocative discussions by not identifying with it, but being able to like effectively converse as you would do in any boardroom, any sort of meeting in any place. And I think that identification is what makes those challenges hard. And the corporate world totally taught me how to do that effectively, and so many other things, so many other things. So I loved that position, but basically I left that job and I was like, oh, it was like April. I was like, I'll take the summer off and just, like take care of my kids and whatever. And so yeah, like the summer began and I just spent a year like melting into my feminine. And it was really one of the greatest years that I have had because I just let go of all of my responsibility. I let go of all of the ways that I like had told myself that's who I am and that's how I show up. And I just completely like reoriented my personality, I guess, my like outer, but because I like super softened on the inner. And that year was so transformational for me because, prior to that, I had been constantly, I was either had a job, working hard, had little kids, had all of this stuff going on. And prior to my corporate job, I was really into playing. I was like a big skier and I was like, I was constantly out in the mountains, like, da-da. So I never took time to just like discover myself truly. Like I left college, came to Jackson. I was married within 2 years, had a kid a year later. Like it was just like,
Yeah.
so that year was amazing. I like fell in love with myself. Yeah, right? Like how many people get the chance to take a year of their lives to love themselves? And meanwhile, I had been through some hardcore spiritual work in 2019, 2020, and through 2021 too. So I was ready. You know what I mean? Like I had done some serious self-reflection. I had let go of a lot of parts of myself that were no longer in alignment, like people pleasing and undervaluing myself and really going toe to toe with some personal demons and being able to be like, warrior vibes a little bit like, hey, I'm going to stand up to this and master my reality and master my thinking and my feeling nature and really like come toe to toe with who I'm here to be. And then I had that year off and I just was like, whoo. I'm gonna let the divine feminine just fill me. And she did. She totally did. Yeah, it was unreal. It was such a beautiful time. And basically a year in to that, I was in an energy work session with Brandy Tuttle, the other woman who was on your podcast, and she brought forth this vision that she had had 7 years prior, and spirit came through and said, "We want you to hold gatherings." And they gave me this like really clear directive. And
Mhm.
I like immediately went to work and was like, okay, I'm going to hold these events. And they had a really clear picture of what these gatherings were doing on this like global level of energetics. And so I started to realize that anytime people gather, there's like this huge presence of the light that's able to come in and not only work on the people who are in the gathering, but also just create this amplification of light. And it's really all about the intention that's set at the beginning and holding a certain frequency as you plan it and as you move through the event, as you move through the resistances and the challenges. And then it's the showing up. And then it's like clockwork, everybody starts to just hold that higher frequency, and the conversations open up and the hearts open up. And it's just, I think of it just as like our interconnectedness that just comes right into resonance. So that's what I'm doing, so I got the directive and I was like, let's go. That's where I'm headed. And yeah, it's kind of all history from there.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because there's so many through lines. There's a thread that has been woven through everything that you shared. And I shared this in previous podcasts that 2019, I had a very similar experience, that I had like this reclamation. I recognized a lot of the patterning that you were talking about, the people pleasing, the devaluing of myself or undervaluing of myself, and placing a lot of that externally, because there's a lot of these conditions are indoctrinated into our way of being. So how do we unwind those, right? How do we gift ourselves that time? Like you were saying, that you had that year to love yourself, to reconnect, to recalibrate, to commune with the one that's within, and listen to that voice that's like, hey, there's something a little bit more. There's something that's in greater resonance with the heart space. Let's drop it from the head, bring it into the body, and feel it, and then allow that frequency to amplify and ripple out. You spoke to one thing that is so powerful when a group of people come together and congregate. This is why there's strength in numbers, why gatherings are so powerful, festivals, churches, any sort of gathering like that, because the resonant frequency is all in alignment. And when that frequency is in alignment, the law of amplification steps in and begins to amplify and ripple it out, and people are just vibing. That's why, like, when we go to a gathering, when we go to a retreat, a seminar, we walk out like we're walking on water, like we're so into it. So there was something that you had spoken to about the intention of your gatherings, which I feel is so important, is that my mission is to remind you of who you are and what you're capable of. I seek not only to teach and be of service, but to walk the path and know myself so deeply, so truly, that I think, feel, and act from the heart, the I am presence, so that I may turn my life into service to humanity, our rising, and the mission I have to inspire and invite those around me to do the same. That's a mic drop moment. That is so powerful, Sita. And for you to say yes to that inner voice, to say yes to something that is beyond form, right? That's what transformation is we have this seemingly wonderful career in front of us. We could have all of the things, all of the financial, gains of all of that, and the ego satisfaction. Though when there's a sense of purpose, when there is an act of service that's being called, to listen to that requires a different level of faculty. It requires us to surrender to something that is within, that there's no certainty there. Though within that uncertainty, there's a mystery that there's so much more available. And then what you opened to with your gatherings and your being of service to other people, you're inviting that expansion of the heart. You're inviting that level of authenticity. You're inviting others to say, hey, come in. This might be something for you. You might explore a part of yourself that might come alive, that might come active. You might remember a little bit of who you are. And maybe, just maybe, you're going to explore that even more and give permission to other people. And that ripple effect, that cross-pollination, right, is so powerful. So your first gathering was across the water. And I want to bring this up because it's so powerful with everything that you are doing on the personal level of when you were talking into softening into the feminine, right? Dissolving into that feminine space after being in such an incredibly masculine territory, right?
Totally.
So taking that time and gifting yourself that time to dissolve into the feminine, and then your first event to step into an act of service on a wider scale, just so incredibly potent. Can you share a little bit about that, and then how that event is shifting into the one that you're creating in October?
Absolutely. Totally. And thank you for reading back my words to me. It's like kind of getting teary, like, wow, okay, yeah, that's true. That's right. That's what I feel. And if I could go a little bit deeper into the presence of the heart first, just to really anchor and let people understand the power of heart-centered living. So the I am presence is the presence of God that is within each of us. Okay. This is the law of the universe. And that presence is anchored to us in our heart. And so I firmly believe that in this time we are in now, we are shedding all of these ancient and old, like worn out belief systems of, following certain doctrines and doing it the way of certain gurus and guides and leaders. And actually what we're doing is we're just going within. And in that going within, we begin to attune ourselves to our own I am presence, our own presence of God that's within us. And it's a really important conscious awareness that we understand why the heart is so valuable, because the mind can totally be indoctrinated and corrupted. I mean, you're talking about people pleasing, like, come on, there's all sorts of programs and conditions that we run on ourselves based on our families, based on our DNA, our lineage, all these things. But the heart is this like absolutely uncorruptible presence, ever watching everything, ever listening, ever present to who we are, to how we are creating ourselves in the moment, to how we are thinking ourselves, thinking our reality in the moment, and feeling into all those things as well. And so the heart is, in my opinion, the absolute holy grail of what we're doing in our world today. And if you do one thing every day, tune into your heart. Exactly. It's a hand on the heart, and it's like, I'm listening. I'm listening to what's within me. And so that to me is the highest it goes. And that's what I wanted. That's what these events are all about, is like awakening that heart presence, and allowing there's walls that we build, and we all had these crazy traumatic life is intense right now. There's nothing wrong with building walls, because that's a very natural reaction, but the ability to let them come down, and the ability to be seen and be heard, and the ability to be seen and to be heard, and to allow ourselves to become more of who we are. And I remember in my awakening that triggered me so much to be like, more of who I am, the truth. Like, what is the truth? I just freak out about it. But the truth is, this is my interpretation now. The truth is very simple. It's just that you are the creator. That's the truth. You are the creator of your reality. You're the creator of your being, your life. And there's certain things that are in alignment and certain things that aren't. So some things Yeah, I'm sorry, that's not your, that's not gonna be your journey in this life. So, but you're the creator, you're the ultimate creator. And that is the presence that I am. The I am is the creator of everything in this universe. And so when we begin to honor that and know that and use that, everything comes into a really powerful place of creatorship. So in 2022, I got this directive from Spirit to run these gatherings. And I took the bull by the horns. I was like, I'm okay, let's go. And then, within a week or two, I had this huge download. I was like, oh, I need to run a women's gathering. Amazing. I know what women need. Okay, I've been on this journey. So I brought together in Jackson Hole all of these. Jackson Hole is a really amazing place, and there's a lot of really powerful healers and speakers and amazing women in this valley who've been doing some really beautiful spiritual work for a long time. And so we brought everybody together, and we held this 2-day gathering in the fall, like right before Halloween, last fall. And oh man, I mean, John, I was so deeply initiated bringing that gathering into form. I mean, talk about a journey, like it took me to the depths of my despair and the height of my experience. Like it was everything in between. And it required an unbelievable amount of persistence to get to the door of that event. And when I did, it was an incredible recognition of what we're capable of when we come together. So it was so powerful. And I was blown away. I really needed to experience it myself. That's what I realized. Like I think ideas are these things that they need somebody to hold on to them and to hear them and to like bring them into form. And so I did that. And then, and the idea and the gathering itself deeply initiated me into the understanding of the forces that we're up against in this reality, like the polarity that's very real on earth here at this time, and the resistance that we face and the persistence that's required to move through the resistance with consciousness. So that gathering broke me and put me back together, and in the best way. And then I spent about a month or two just like in full recovery mode because it was so intense, and I didn't, like you said, like I didn't give myself, I learned how I work. Like I could go so hard and be just supremely stressed and not take care of myself. So I learned how to like be more, use more restraint and let the universe do the work. And I'm just the facilitator. So I learned a lot about like force and strength and all of these like push-pull powers so that I'm using literally the heaven worlds to like help me create. Okay. Because I'm just one human being here. I'm bringing together these beautiful Aquarian age gatherings, and I want to bring all these humans in. But at the end of the day, I'm the one who's writing the newsletters. I'm the one who's getting everybody out there being on Instagram, like, hey, everybody come to my event. Da, da, da. So I was like, oh, okay, I need to be more still and allow the universe to just move through me, and that the God can do the work. My I am presence can do the work. And I'm just like holding the space and facilitating and listening. So this time I'm running another gathering this October. And this one is for men and women. And after that women's event, like I said, it was really powerful. It was shifting for so many women. And I left that and I was like, you know what? I really want to do the next one with men and women. And I'm going to be super honest. I got really, I want to say beat up, but that's not the word. I got hit pretty hard by the shadow before across the water. Pretty hard would be an understatement. It came hard and fast, and it was my own unhealed stuff, but it really went after me hardcore. So I was like, I really want to work with men in these gatherings too, because I know that men hold this like protective space so that the creative feminine can really like flourish. And after my year, I was like, I kind of understand the dynamics a little better. So I was like, so then you and I met, and Travis was there, and I was like, oh wow, I'm getting it now. Like there's this whole co-creation that can work when men and women work together in right relation. And so this event has kind of been a long time in the making, and something that um, has been sort of a dream of mine, to pull together these masculine, feminine forces for this, just what I'm calling a crucible of co-creation and transformation. And um, this one is, I'm stepping it up a notch. We've got a really amazing musician, Elijah Ray, who's coming to this event and providing some unbelievable musical beats and just sound healing. And he's, really amplifying the experience with his um, 20 years of going to music festivals and playing for people. And, he's incredible. So I am so excited to kind of, and then when Elijah came into the event, all of a sudden there was just like all of these bigger name people who wanted to come be a part of it. And it's all because of, relationships I'm forming and friendships I'm forming with all kinds of people in this space. So Cascade is it's an absolute crucible of these, masculine, feminine dynamics. And we talked about this in our first meeting, but the concept of the cascade is really like the flow of water being held by this, mountainous masculine force that's letting the flow just move through it. And so I love it. It's like the masculine is holding the water of the feminine, and at the same time the feminine is, just slowly trickling into the heart of the mountain and being like, hey, and it's all just interrelatedness. And I think it's all really beautiful, and there's so much poetry in it that it moves me. It really does. The metaphor of the cascade is so moving to me. But this event it feels so good. It feels so smooth and buttery and like effortless. And I'm working with some amazing people, including yourself, who are just so jazzed to be a part of it. And that gives me so much more fire to create with and bring it to life, because I'm like, there's appreciation and there's enjoyment, and it because you run events too. So you're like, oh yeah, I know what's coming. This is going to be rad. You know what I mean? So anyway,
Yes.
that's Cascade in a nutshell.
I love it. Thank you. And beautiful backstory with it. And, and you came to me and you were telling me that this was coming to light. After, like you said, it's been a long time percolating and coming alive. And I think you so perfectly put it, like it's poetic. Like everything about this journey and this weaving has been so incredibly poetic. Cascade, right? Just the cascade coming down and just moving that energy and the power so effortlessly, gracefully, powerfully. The coming together of the forces. And I love how you were talking about the initiation of Across the Water for yourself. I think that's so incredibly important, that a lot of us, when we take on something that seemingly is bigger than life, right? Of where there's just such a powerful message that's there, a lot of times that message is for us. It can be quite overwhelming. It can be riveting. It can be the dark night of the soul. And it can also be the most ineffable shift in a personal experience beyond anything else, because it gives us that initiation into what we've always known to be true, of what we know is possible, of what we are of service to, all the things that we thought were possible, but we maybe didn't give ourselves the opportunity to lean into that fear of what's on the other side of it. And you spoke to that so beautifully, that this was like your birthing, your initiation, your coming into it, right? And
Completely.
then now it's like, you know what? Leaning in to what is going on with the dynamics and the polarity between the masculine and the feminine energies. It's not necessarily male and female. It's, if we have two poles of a battery, we have a negative and a positive. We focus so much on the positive and the negative that we miss the whole spectrum in between. And right now, The focus is the invitation is to focus on what's in between, the energies and how they work with each other, how they power this human experience. So bringing that in to this here is so incredibly powerful. And it's been an honor from the very onset when we had that conversation of when you asked if I wanted to participate with it. It was an immediate 100% unequivocal yes, because it is so incredibly important for the rise of the feminine and for the support of the masculine, and for both of those to come together in this weaving and this honoring. Because when those are in synchronization, when they're in harmony, when they're in unison and supporting instead of this, combat, and you said it in also one of your writings too, is rising together. And that's like one of my taglines is better together. We are better together. We could go out there and be the lone wolf. But when we come together and listen, bring the conversations to the table, and provide spaces of where people can surrender into their vulnerabilities. And I'm going to share the quote from what you wrote on Cascade, because this is the invitation. Cascade is a celebration and a sacred circle where those thirsting for a heart-led future come to convene, create, and accelerate our expansion towards higher ground together. The last word is together. Because we can come in as an individual and gain all the information and extrapolate that information and go and live our life with that information and be the best version of ourselves. But there's still one little piece that's missing there. And that is, we're not going to be the best version of ourselves until we learn how to co-create, until we learn how to be in harmony, to be in resonance, to do it together. So I want to draw this to a close. You've so beautifully woven the message of Cascade and what you are of service to. But if there is one thing that you could tap into, what do you think that we can do to support a more sustainable and harmonious human experience? How can we be better together?
I think it absolutely begins on that long walk from the mind to the heart. And I think that God doesn't act and come out of the skies and just, oh, this is how it shall be now. God acts through the consciousness of the individuals around us. And I believe that our ability to receive, reflect, be of service, be that God-like service for others is the ability to be in the harmony and orchestration of the whole. And it is in our ability to truly listen to our heart, to know and to have discernment as well. It's very important to have the ability to discern what is maybe not coming from the heart and what is coming from the heart. And that is a practice that is, my friends, that is an ever-evolving practice that we all must participate in. But it is that ability to act from that place that allows us to literally be a part of the harmony. Like if you think about a piece of really good music, your favorite song, there are so many nuances and notes and pauses and reflections and different pieces to the music that make it something incredible. And it is in that orchestration of the all that makes the real harmony. And that's not to say that a single note can't be beautiful, because it absolutely can. But it's followed by a pause. It's followed by a harmony. It all has this beautiful ability to orchestrate itself. And I feel like that's what is happening on earth. It's inevitable. It's literally happening. And our job is to attune ourselves to the higher harmony, to the presence that I am, that is creating all of my world and my reality. And I think my, greatest role as a human is to be able to listen to that presence and to tune to it. And when I do that, I think that I become a much greater vessel for creating a better world, but it required my personal work and engagement in my own hypocrisies, in my own, limitations that I had to look at, and the things about me that I didn't like. I had to look at them. I had to have the courage to say, I can do better. I've got to stop drinking. I've got to stop smoking so much. I've got to stop doing these things. And it takes effort to see yourself in a negative light and be able to be compassionate and be able to take that, the quote unquote ugly parts of ourselves and transform them. And that's alchemy at its finest. And I think you start to learn your way, right? You start to learn how you take on that feedback without taking it so personally. So it gets easier, I'll say that. But I think the most important way that we can be a part of the harmony and the orchestration of the all and be a part of the rising of the earth herself is to attune ourselves to our own hearts. And in that long walk home, we come home to ourselves. We understand who we really are and what we're really capable of. And I say, keep going. Don't stop. Be relentless in the pursuit of your own heart. It's worth it. It's worth it to keep going, even when it gets hard. Take a rest, lick your wounds, take a couple months off. Just allow yourself to be, just be human. Don't have to be the perfection of whatever you're trying to create, but then go back to the vision, go back to it again and keep going. Don't give up on yourself, and it requires persistence. Anything that is of value, of real value, requires persistence. Like every TED talk on the earth, it says this, it's like, this is actually a science to some degree. It's fact. And I think that resistance, what I have discovered, and the last thing I'm going to say is that the journey is the medicine. The journey into your own heart is the medicine that you need. It's not about getting through it. It's not about getting to the other side. The through is it. Every step is forming you. Every step is teaching you. And this is a classroom. This is a crucible of a classroom on earth right now. But it's worth it. The soul, I feel our souls are so gifted in this time because there is huge, huge assistance from the heaven worlds. And I'll tell you this is very important. I ask for help every day. Every day. There is not a day that I am not in direct communication with higher forces and asking for help for how to be of service. What's the most important thing I can do today? Like what is it that needs to be done? And I allow the intelligence that is higher than my mind to guide me and to show me the way. And I trust it. That's the other thing. There is a trust that I have built through my journey. through I wouldn't have the trust if I hadn't gone through the journey. You can't just trust something if you haven't actually practiced it and been through, okay, I'm asking for it, I'm receiving it, acknowledging it. Okay, I'm going to stop there.
So powerful, Sita, and trusting it. And it is so incredibly worth it. So incredibly worth it.
It's not easy. It's not easy, but it is worth every step of the way, because on the other side of that journey is freedom. Freedom. Real freedom. The freedom to be who you are, to express yourself in this like supremely authentic way that I think we've all been kind of searching for that our whole lives. Like, how do I express my great qualities in this world? And you've got to journey to that freedom of expression, freedom of whatever your gift is. But you have a gift, you have a purpose, you have a value. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. And the medicine of your life is the discovery and the relentless pursuit of that, of what you are, of that which I am.
Absolutely. So beautifully put and so potently delivered. For anybody that is out there that is feeling called, that feels like, wow, this is for me. This is speaking directly to my heart. This is what I have been asking for. This is the sign. This is where I want to be. These are my people. This is the activation that I've been tuned to. How can people find Cascades? How can they find their way to participate in this, to co-create, to weave together, to come and remember who they are?
First of all, I would say, welcome to the tribe. I'm thrilled that you're even asking to be a part of it. There's a real part of me that's just like, yeah, welcome here. Welcome here. So know that first. The second way to find me, besides through my welcoming committee, is my event business is called Headwaters Gatherings. And so I'm at headwatersgatherings.com. And you can find Cascade through that website. And then we also have the URL cascadeevent.com. So nice and easy to find it. And yeah, you can read all about the event that's happening there. John's going to be there. He's going to be ramping up some tunes and providing some beautiful healing and conversation. And, this is the fun part.
Yeah.
Coming together is the fun part, because I think what I've discovered in these gatherings is that when we come together, there's this quantum leap that happens, and all of these sort of, really hard things we've been working through forever, they just kind of dissolve, and then we all kind of rise together. And that's the whole point, is that when we come together, we sort of, we get rewarded, and we learn more about ourselves and more about how we can be of service and how we can connect with like-minded other individuals who are on the same path, like arm in arm. Let's go. Let's move forward together and move to higher ground together. So cascadeevent.com is how you find out more about the event and look into coming to Jackson Hole. I mean, this valley is such a beautiful place. Its wildness is unparalleled in North America. And this gathering is going to be transformational and life-changing. And I can say that because that's the intention of the event. So I know that it will be so. So I would just, welcome everyone to check out our site. And there's scholarship tickets available. So if you can get to Jackson Hole, but you're having, you're tight on funds, reach out to us. We want everyone who wants to come to be able to come. And yeah, this is the beginning. And I'm so excited about it. It's like walking through the gates. We're making heaven on earth here, baby.
Oh, yes. Yes. I am so incredibly excited to be a part of this. And for anybody that is, there is even a bit of a yes there. The event links are going to be posted in the information below. So if there's any sort of inkling that you want to say yes to this, is, to give yourself that permission. It begins with that. It begins with giving ourselves permission to experience what it is that our heart desires to say yes to, of what we are fully capable of, so that the intention of this podcast, in essence, is to reverberate this message, so that that space within the sanctuary of our heart, that sacred yes that we feel that calling to, begins to expand beyond our personal experience. And it's like echolocation. It's like, oh yeah, there's somebody else that remembers. There's somebody else that remembers. And then all of a sudden we're all at cascade and we're amplifying the love. And then we're feeling into this. And then we take it to our communities. And then we're like these little worker bees. And we're just cross-pollinating all of this beauty for this world that we know is possible. So it's just an honor to have you here today, Sita, and to share your message. And thank you for your passion. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your purpose. And most of all, just thank you for your presence. It's just an honor.
Thank you for for listening and receiving it all and helping me amplify the message. I need help. I need the help of all of us to we all are here to help each other. And then I'm feeling like I need to lead like one little heart tune in to close it out.
Please. Yes, please.
All right, everybody, let's close our eyes. Take a deep breath in. Let that breath go all the way into your lungs and just completely fill you up. And as you exhale, just let go. Let go. Let all kinds of thoughts and schmuck of the day, of wherever you are, just completely let go and come home into the heart. And I want you to tune into the warmth that is in your heart. Tune into the beat, the drum beat that is yours and yours alone. And feel your heart feeling you. Feel its expansion when you honor it, when you recognize it and you come home to it. Feel the stillness that is there. And the silence that is a peace beyond measure. And I want you to close this out by letting your heart speak directly to you. Let its message arise. Receiving ourselves is such a gift. And I want you to take this and let your heart guide you for the rest of this day and the rest of your life. And it's been an honor to be with you in this hour. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Love you, truly.
Thank you, Sita. Always an honor, truly a gift. Thank you, everyone, for gifting yourself in the time that you shared with us today. Again, please check out the show notes for information on Cascade and for more information on Sita. And remember, we are better together.
We're about to get it in the fields, no doubt. We're about to get it in the fields. I can feel it coming in the air, no doubt. I can feel it coming in the air. We're about to get it in the fields, no doubt. We're about to get it in the fields. Lift the veils, paranoid, filled with attaboys. Attaboy, reflect, now I filter out the noise. And I leap into the envelope and flip through the channels. Navigate frequencies, still an animal in an earth suit. Running programs for no man, a nomad, a human. Daily show is true, man. We can tune into the stream. No master, always student of creation, meditation. The ones that we're waiting for. Feel it coming in the air. We're about to get it in the fields, no doubt. We're about to get it in the fields. I can feel it coming in the air, no doubt. I can feel it coming in the air. We're about to get it in the fields, no doubt. We're about to get it in the fields.